Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise to our God, Yahweh, in the name of His Son, Yahweh Shai. Yeah, man, this is just an update on, the events that are currently happening around the world. Okay, and we see in a lot of countries, famine is on the rise, man. Right, famine is on the rise. And then this one is an article from CBS News. It says UN Food Agency Chief. Alright, so pretty much this UN Food Agency Chief is saying world could see famines of biblical proportions within months. And it's interesting how they quote biblical proportions, because we know, like, famine, according to scriptures, it's one of the biggest signs, of the end times, man. The things that are about to happen before the Lord makes His return. Alright, and we know it's gonna be biblical proportion, alright, when it happens, man. Alright, biblical proportions. And when these things do happen, cannibalism is gonna be on the rise, all of these things, man, so I'm just gonna play this video out. This one is just an ad.
Tonight, the UN is warning that the pandemic is putting the world at risk of widespread famines of biblical proportions. There are growing concerns about food supplies in this country, especially in America's meat industry. An explosion of coronavirus cases is forcing some meat packing plants to shut down. We've got more now from CBS's Janet Shamlian.
A major pork processing plant is the latest to close. Tyson Foods in Waterloo, Iowa, where 2,800 workers process nearly 20,000 hogs a day. It comes after an outbreak of at least 180 COVID-19 cases there, and after Iowa lawmakers filed an OSHA complaint, even though the state's governor resisted.
We can work with different processing facilities across the state to keep the processing plants up and going.
A USA Today investigation found 150 of the nation's largest plants are in counties where the infection rate is spiking, threatening not only workers, but potentially the food supply.
Any plant or factory across the country could become the #1 hotspot next week if they do not take this issue seriously.
Processing plants can be a breeding ground for the virus because...
And actually, what I've heard was, the most affected meat plant, it's usually, the one that processes pork. Right? That's one that I've heard is been hit hard the most. Because as you know, according to the scriptures, pork is an unclean meat. You shouldn't be eating that in the first place. So it's being hit hard, man.
Many workers spend their days side by side. This man, who recovered from COVID-19 and asked we not use his name, works at Smithfield Foods in South Dakota.
We are very close. We can't use a social distance at that place.
Tonight, there is increasing concern about the supply of meat and poultry. The Agriculture Department reports beef production is already down 19% from a year ago.
Are we going to be going through a meat shortage in the United States?
You may not get the exact product, but...
And man, it's crazy, right? Because, there are a lot of people who pretty much love meat more than any other foods, right? And, man, when meat runs out, who they're going to be eating afterwards. They're probably going to be, engaging in cannibalism, especially when the famine hits hard. Right? Because I'm pretty sure, man, in the United States, there are people who are already, cannibalists, man. Right?
That you want when you go to the store, but we did not expect, I would not expect a protein shortage.
And tonight, CBS News has learned that Tyson has closed yet another of its plants, this time in Indiana. And here in Texas, public health officials are now investigating outbreaks at 2 rural processing plants, areas where hospitals and resources are thin. Nora?
All right, Janet, thank you.
Alright, and I'm just gonna read this little here. It says David, I think it's Beasley, director of the United States, the director of the United Nations World Food Program, warned Tuesday that the world is on the brink of hunger pandemic as it grapples with the coronavirus crisis. He said that without action, the world could face multiple famines of biblical proportions within a short months. Right? And here he's saying we are already facing a perfect storm. Because I can't remember which year it was when Donald Trump said, "This is the calm before the storm, man." And the storm is quickly approaching, man. And he's talking about biblical storm, man. Okay. It says perfect storm due to wars like those in Syria, Yemen, and more frequent natural disasters, among other factors, he said. And if you read these things, the signs of war, earthquakes in diverse places, natural disaster and all those things, these are the signs, man, that the Lord is about to make his return, man, That's the storm that Trump was talking about, I believe, man. Alright.